Hello everyone and welcome back. In this lecture we're going to talk about a very important Java topic, which is inheritance. So I'm going to start by creating a new class. Until now we've created classes in the same file. Now we're going to create classes in separate files, which is what you usually do when you make real-life projects. So you should expand your Java project file and go under source file and create a new class. I'm gonna call this class factory. Now, just because we've created this class, we can go in our application class and create a factory object. I will say factory1. This is how I'm gonna name it. I'm gonna say new factory. So we've just created a new object. And now I'm gonna go in our factory class and give this class few methods. I'm gonna say public void design. Here I'm gonna say sysout control space design the car, and then I'm gonna add another method. Here I'm gonna say public void build and sysout build the car. So in my application class I can call my methods. I can say factory1 dot design and factory1 dot build. Now our sysout statements will be displayed in the console. As you can see, design the car and build the car. So you need to have a good understanding of creating and calling methods before you move to inheritance. Now we're gonna create another class and we'll call it car. I'm gonna go to our source file, go to class and type here car. And I can make a reference to a new object of car class. I'm gonna say car1 equals to new car. And if we go to our car class, we don't have any methods yet. But if we do this, car1 dot, you can see that we actually can call some methods, and these methods are parts of the object class, and this class is the ultimate ancestor of all classes in Java. But if I go to our car class and I say here car extends factory, what I mean by extend is that car now is a subclass of factory and factory is a superclass of car. So now car class inherits everything from factory class. So at the moment car class is identical to our factory class. Just by mentioning here that car extends factory or car is a factory, in our car class now we have all the factory methods. So now we can go in our application class and say car1 dot design and car1 dot build. So now we have access to the methods in our factory class. So if we run this, design the car and build the car will be again displayed in the console. But we can go to our car class and add other methods, of course. So here I'm gonna say public void, let's say brand, and I'm gonna say sysout, let's say Tesla. And now I can go in my application class and say car1 dot brand. So now we have methods in our car class that we don't have in our factory class. And this is very useful because if you don't have the source code of a class, you can only extend it and add your own code as well. So basically you can extend any class except final classes. An example of final classes is a string class, so you cannot extend the string class. With an exception of final classes, you can extend basically any class. So now that you have an idea of inheritance, we're gonna go through access modifiers. There are four access modifiers. There is public, then there is protected, then there is default, and this one is a little bit tricky because it has a name, but it occurs when there is no access modifier. So let's say here lack of access modifier. And an example of this could be this method. If we delete public and just say void brand, this is the case when the method has a default modifier. I'm gonna put it back to public. And lastly, there is private. So public access modifier means that you can access these methods from any class, anywhere, regardless of whether the classes are or aren't in the same package. Whilst the keyword protected, if we say for example here protected, it means that this method can be accessed from this class, from other classes in the same package, but if the class is in the different package from where you're trying to access this method, that class has to extend the class that this method is in it. So for example, we need to extend the car class because this method belongs to the car class. So in order to access a protected method, you need to extend the car class. So only the subclasses from different packages can access protected methods. Now moving on to default or lack of access modifier. So a method with default modifier would look like this. And you can call this method only from the same class or the classes that are in the same package. So if a class is not in the same package as the car class, you cannot access this method regardless of whether it is a subclass or not. So a method with a default access modifier can be called only within the same class or the classes within the same package. Whilst private access modifier is very simple and very straightforward, you can call a method with a private access modifier only within the same class. You cannot call a private method, even if that class is a subclass of the class that the method belongs in. So private modifier is pretty straightforward and very simple. The same as public one, which can be accessed from everywhere. So you should focus on learning these two a little bit more because they are more tricky, because public and private are pretty straightforward. So that's it for this lecture. We're gonna use inheritance and access modifiers throughout the course, so I'm sure that you gradually understand them. For the moment, you can exercise with source code in the resources section. So I will see you in the next lecture.